Well, no snow on the field. Still plenty in the stadium here for the fans to deal with. 26 degrees, but the feels like is in the teens for the Dolphins and the Bills. And Adam Gase in his second season as the head coach at Miami, 16-13. They've been awfully good in the month of December, including a big win last Monday against the Patriots. And it's the first year for Sean McDermott. A lot of changes early in the season, building towards the future. And perhaps it's arrived a little sooner than expected for a Buffalo team that right now holds on to that final playoff spot at 7-6. Miami won the toss. They deferred, so the kick coming up short. Brandon Tate on the run will pick it up around the 10-yard line. And he'll step out of bounds inside the 20. So Tyrod Taylor is back at quarterback after missing out in the snow game a week ago. Seventh-year man out of Virginia Tech. Had his career high as a quarterback throwing the ball against Miami last December, including 3 touchdown passes. And he has fared quite well against the Dolphins in his career. And LeSean McCoy is the deep man in the eye as the Bills will throw it on first down. And the catch is made out at the 26-yard line. That's Patrick DeMarco, the fullback coming out of the backfield. Deion Dawkins is a rookie who will get the start again for the 5th game in a row at left tackle. They're getting tremendous production out of their newcomers. Of course, LeSean McCoy, he opens up the day 39 yards shy of 10,000 for his career, now in his 9th season out of Pittsburgh. And over the last 9 years, no one has run it better in the NFL than McCoy has. And that pass dropped, intended for the tight end Charles Clay. That'll bring up a 3rd and 4. The defense for Miami includes Cameron Wake, second all-time in franchise history in sacks, behind the Hall of Famer Jason Taylor. They've had a terrific pass rush in this second half of the season. Kiko Alonso is a former Buffalo Bills draft choice, returning to Western New York, and Xavier Howard with 4 picks in his last 2 games, one of those a pick 6. On 3rd and 4 for Buffalo. Empty set for Taylor, and he's got Clay out across the 30 and a first down.
So important, Beth, for Buffalo to get off to a fast start. Get a completion, get a first down, continue to move the chains. And when empty backfield, good timing there by Tyrod Taylor, something Rick Dennison talked to us about, that he has to have good timing. He said, listen to your feet. When you make the drop and you hit that 3rd step or the 5th step, deliver the ball.
Move the chains on 1st and 10. And this is McCoy getting the touch and is head down out to the 36-yard line, tackled by rookie Chase Allen, the middle linebacker, after a 2-yard gain. Trying to join O.J. Simpson and Thurman Thomas, the other Buffalo Bills, in the 10,000-yard club.
He's not thinking about 10,000 yards, though. That's what he told us, even though he had this sweatshirt on.
He's already talking about 12,000. That's what
right.
he'd love to hit. But first off, he'd like to help the Bills get into the postseason. They have now moved Ryan Groy over to left tackle, as McCoy will get the call once again. Some of his teammates helping him out there. We chasing 10K. It's Tyrod Taylor as quarterback wearing the hoodie. Starred for so many years with the Philadelphia Eagles, and now in his 3rd season in Buffalo. 6 of his 9 years have resulted in 1,000-yard rushing seasons. McCoy, elusive, getting away from Wake to keep the play alive, and across midfield to McCoy, and a first down.
An excellent job by Tyrod Taylor keeping that play alive, scrambling in the pocket. He wanted to go to LeSean McCoy here early, couldn't do that. Comes back, gets away from the defender and finds McCoy, keeping his eyes downfield. That's one of the things that he talked to us in our meetings, Beth. Yep. When I scramble, if I'm not running right away, I'm keeping my eyes downfield to find that secondary receiver.
Travaris Cadet now in at tailback. And Dawkins is back out there at left tackle. They're finding success in the throws across the middle underneath. That's tight end Nick O'Leary and a gain of 8.
This is the defense that shut down Tom Brady in that first quarter. One of the worst quarters of Tom Brady's career. Miami got after Tom Brady, but Tyrod Taylor moving his team down the field, effective, finding receivers.
Cadet gets to the outside and a nice burst down to the 30-yard line. Big block by Vlad Dukas, the right guard, to clear some space for him, and that's a 12-yard run.
Excellent job sealing the end on the line of scrimmage, allowing Cadet to get to that second level. Buffalo's got to love what they're seeing from their offensive line, from their quarterback.
And what a big moment for Cadet. He's a Miami native, played at Central High School, and then collegiately at Appalachian State, and a chance to face the Dolphins today. He'll step off as McCoy returns. A drive that started on their own 19. The Bills have not scored on a drive all season that started inside their own 20-yard line. Play action with McCoy, and the rollout, he's got O'Leary inside the 10 and cut down at the 5. Terrific play fake from Tyrod Taylor. 25 yards to O'Leary.
When you're running the ball successfully, play action works. You're going to see O'Leary come down and then go into that second level. The linebackers lose him. He's wide open. Tyrod Taylor, a nice job finding his receiver, delivering the ball, continuing to move the sticks.
5 of 6 for 60 yards for Taylor as they try and end this drought and score on their opening drive. McCoy out of the eyes, slicing his way into the end zone. Touchdown Bills, but there is a flag on the play.
Offside, defense number 75, lined up in the neutral zone. This penalty is declined. The result, touchdown.
6th rushing touchdown of the season for LeSean McCoy. And the Bills strike quickly. Terrific block by DeMarco.
Wide open for McCoy to come through. That offensive line all drive long, opening up holes for the running backs, giving Taylor time to throw the ball. Couldn't have asked for anything better if you're Buffalo.
10 plays, 81 yards in just under 5 minutes. And just like you called for, Jay, they needed a hot start, and they got one.
LeSean McCoy did it last week in the snow, doing it now in the cold. Buffalo up early.
They are all fired up here in Orchard Park as the Bills end their drought. They had gone 19 games in a row without scoring a touchdown on the opening drive, and they do that impressively. The first possession they have today, 10 plays, 81 yards. Tyrod Taylor, 5 of 6 on the drive for 60 yards, including a big-time scramble. And Santa Claus applauding the start here for Buffalo, and now it's Miami's turn. Jakeem Grant will be the deep man along with Sonoris Perry. Stephen Hauschka boots it away. And that'll be the touchback, and that'll bring on Jay Cutler and this resurgent Miami offense that has been terrific the last couple of weeks. Cutler, of course, coming out of retirement after the injury to Ryan Tannehill in August. 6 touchdowns, 3 picks in his 4 games on the road this season.
So good last week against New England. They thought it was going to be easy to come back. Adam Gase, Jay Cutler, and their history, it took a little longer. They feel really good the last 3 weeks where they are, understanding each other and what you do well.
They were together for many years in Chicago before Gase took over as the head coach last year in Miami. And they'll throw it out into the flat to Julius Thomas, and the tight end carrying a couple of defenders close to the first down. And it looks like he's got it. Mike Pouncey is the man in the middle, the anchor, the seventh-year center out of Florida and a former first-round pick for an offensive line that finally has some consistency due to some injuries. Of course, Kenyon Drake, the last 2 weeks, he's led the NFL in total yards from scrimmage and has been a real find after the injury to Damon Williams and the trade of Jay Ajayi in midseason. And there's Drake met in the backfield. Kyle Williams, and speaking of Kyle, there he is now in his 12th season, 165 games here in Buffalo. There's been some speculation about whether or not this might be his last. On the other side of that, the new guy, Matt Milano, the rookie out of Boston College, getting the start today, and Micah Hyde having an all-pro type season. In fact, the fans gave him more votes than any other strong safety in the voting that ended this week.
Yeah, he deserved it. Keep an eye on Jarvis Landry in the backfield. They like doing this, putting the receivers in the backfield.
Looked like some movement on the left side of the line, and Cutler backhands it forward, but the play had been blown dead.
It's going to be a false start. Tunsil.
There was no play before the snap. False start. Offense, number 67. 5-yard penalty.
Keep an eye on
Still
Tunsil there,
second
the
down.
left tackle. Moving early.
First round pick last year out of Ole Miss. Left side has been steady. It's Jesse Davis and Sam Young that have taken over on the right side for a Miami team that averages about 8 penalties per game, second most in the NFL. 5 DBs here for Buffalo on 2nd and 17. Cutler, incomplete, looking for Drake out of the backfield.
This is a young offensive line, an offensive line, Beth, that they knew they were going to have growing pains. Cutler unable to make this completion. But Adam Gase told us in an earlier game I did that they knew they didn't spend a lot of money on the offensive line, and they felt they could fix the issues with scheme. It's been in flux throughout the year, although they played really well against New England last week. They moved Jay Cutler around. That was the key to the success on the offense, getting him outside, utilizing his ability to move and throw on the run.
3rd and 17. Cutler out of the pocket, incomplete. Looking for Jarvis Landry, and it's 4th down.
Cutler was lucky there. That ball was sailing. If Landry doesn't get a hand on this ball, Poyer is going to come up the free safety and make this interception. Right there, 21 Poyer. He was waiting. His eyes were big. He knew he was going to have a pick.
Brandon Tate is back deep. Matt Hawk, the rookie out of Arizona State, averaging about 45 yards a kick. We were down on the field pregame, Jay. The wind did not seem to be a significant factor yet today. Tate will wave all his buddies away from it, and then he'll pick it up on the second bounce and immediately taken down at the 31-yard line. 41 yards on the punt, 3 on the return, and a tackle by Mike Hull. 7-zip early, Bills.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. Progressive Insurance, handing off big savings to you. And by Verizon, best gifts on the best network.
What a memorable day it was here in Orchard Park a week ago in the snow, 8 inches of it. In fact, 20 snowblowers were used during the game. More people watched in Buffalo, just the second actually highest in history, and that one shovel used by Steve Tasker down on the sideline.
And 2 frozen eyebrows. I did not envy Steve Tasker being down on the sideline.
For kids growing up in that kind of weather, you remember running outside and
absolutely.
playing football games on a day like that. LaShawn McCoy had the game winner in overtime. He's the decoy here on play action as Tyrod Taylor trying to go over the top. Intended for his speed guy, Deontay Thompson, incomplete. And broken up by Bobby McCain, who's starting today in place of the injured Cordray Tankersley. How about the play of Taylor on that last drive?
Well, this was the big play. Getting away from Wake, keeping his eyes downfield while he scrambled, finding McCoy. Then they go play action, and excellent job finding Nick O'Leary. McCoy cashes it in. Tyrod Taylor calm and cool on that first drive.
Oh, McCoy hammered in the backfield by Ndamukong Suh. Burst through that line for the Miami Dolphins and a loss of 3. Taylor on that last drive, 5 completions to 4 different guys. If they can get their receivers involved, Jay,
well, that's been the struggle all year.
You got a running back who's got the most catches, and your tight end has the most yards. Of course, they had Sammy Watkins. They traded him away early in the season. They had Anquan Bolden in camp for about a week. He decided to retire. And Taylor taken down and sacked. Cameron Wake, the first guy there. Charles Harris, the rookie out of Missouri, then cleaned it up.
Harris coming from one side, Wake coming for the other, meeting at the quarterback, and that's not good for Tyrod Taylor and your quarterback. They wanted to go quick. He wasn't able to deliver it. That's what Rick Dennison talked about, throwing on time. That's the struggle that Tyrod Taylor has had, timing, knowing when to get rid of the ball.
On 4th down, Jakeem Grant back to receive on the run. He'll take it at the 33-yard line. And he's run out of bounds at the 41 for Miami, and a shorter field to work with after the 42-yard punt. 8 yards on the return and a little yapping back and forth. Jay Cutler getting to work when we come back. Oh, they got their chicken wings out and ready to go. Here in Buffalo, the Bills leading the Dolphins 7-0, and it's Cutler on the rollout and the hookup with Anthony Fasano, the 12-year veteran free agent pickup out of Notre Dame.
Jay Cutler so much better on play action. 6 touchdowns, 1 interception with play action. 10 touchdowns, or 12 touchdowns, 10 interceptions when he doesn't have play action.
This is what the Dolphins also have to deal with today, Jay. Look at the weather that they've played in throughout the season. And this by far the coldest they will have to deal with. It feels like temperature in the teens, but also keep in mind a lot of these guys were here last year on Christmas Eve when they got an overtime win over the Bills on a day where they would clinch a spot in the playoffs. And this is Kenyon Drake, second-year man out of Alabama, and a connection with his head coach Adam Gase, as both are quite familiar with Nick Saban. Gase, a former GA with Saban, and of course Kenyon Drake, playing down at Alabama, was a part of a couple of national championship teams with the Tide.
One of the reasons why Gase wanted him, because he knew that he was going to be a professional, that Nick Saban tests you as much as any coach in college football, and you're ready to be a professional when you get to the NFL.
2 tight end set here for Miami. And they'll run behind it. And a nice cut to get to the edge. Drake with a burst. Down the sideline and inside the 15-yard line. Out at the 13. Bumped by Micah Hyde after a 31-yard run.
Look, very similar to the run that we showed in the open. Nice little stutter step, get outside, and the Bills lose contain, something that drives Sean McDermott crazy. He told us that he can't stand when guys lose leverage, when they don't know where their responsibilities are. You have to keep contained. Bills are unable to do that, and Drake gets another big run.
Kudos to the left guard, Ted Larson, with a big block. Cutler out of the gun on 1st and 10. Fires it near side, and it's caught by Devontae Parker. And a gain of 4. Working against Tre'Davious White, who a lot of people here in Buffalo think should be the Defensive Rookie of the Year.
Played all but 10 snaps for this defense, exceeded every expectation they had when they drafted him in the first round. Does everything well, covers, tackles.
Down in this red zone where Miami really likes to throw the ball. They've done that quite a bit this year.
Especially since week 6, Beth. 78% since week 6. The NFL average is 49%.
They'll try the ground instead, and Drake burrows his way to the 8. Tre'Davious White able to wrap him up. Yeah, the red zone this season for Jay Cutler, 15 touchdowns, hitting on 66% of his throws.
Quarterbacks love that. Running backs, not so much.
Fantasy football owners are mixed on that one.
Depends who you got. If you got Cutler, you love it.
3rd and 5 from inside the 10.
Look for Jarvis Landry, 14. He's in the slot. That's who they like to go to in these situations.
Cutler looking the other way, tries to run with it, and he's tripped up and taken down. That was Ryan Davis, and it's 4th down.
There's Landry, 14. Trying to give him a little choice move. That's what he scored against New England. A good job defending him. Cutler doesn't have anywhere to go, and then the pressure gets to him.
Cody Parkey will come on here for the Dolphins and attempt a 28-yarder. 3rd-year man out of Auburn. He's only missed once all season. He's 15 of 16 on the year. And he's good there. 3 points on the board for the Dolphins. 3:16 to go in the first.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by McDonald's. I'm loving it. And by Walmart. Rock this Christmas with Walmart.
All the Bills want for Christmas is a trip back to the postseason for the first time in 17 years. Well, 'tis the season to give yourself the gift of comedy with new episodes of Kevin Can Wait, Man with a Plan, Superior Donuts, and 9 JKL. Starting tomorrow at 8, 7 Central, only CBS. From the 4-yard line for Brandon Tate. He'll weave his way out to the 24-yard line. Well, the man with the plan for Buffalo, their first-year head coach, Sean McDermott, they went through an awful lot early in the season, made some moves and got rid of some big names and started to put a lot on the plates of their rookies. And you see the first-year head coaches, 3 of them possibly could get themselves to the playoffs.
One of the things Sean McDermott said is, by the end of the year, we have to know who we are. It's been a balancing act all year for them.
McCoy on the ground, and LaShawn McCoy with a first down. Out of bounds around the 35-yard line as he continues to inch his way closer to that 10,000 career yard mark.
You can see the lateral quickness that LaShawn McCoy has, keeping his eyes downfield. Had to kind of change the way he ran when he came here, learning that zone read concepts.
22 yards away now from 10,000. Let's go to New York for an update.
Jacksonville looking to clinch a playoff spot for the first time in 10 years.
Yeah, Tommy Bohannon, a 1-yard touchdown run, his first of his career, 13-play drive, 78 yards. Jacksonville 7-0 over Houston. Let's throw it back to Beth Mullins and that kicking specialist, Jay Feely.
Oh, that kicking specialist indeed, Jay Feely. You, in fact, have kicked a time or two here in Buffalo over the course of your career. As they run DeMarco out to one of the wide receiver spots, bottom of your screen. This is McCoy with a catch underneath again, out to the 41-yard line and a tackle for Rashad Jones. How about the moves that Buffalo made?
Well, I talked about the balancing act. They're building for the future. They're picking up picks. They traded away their best receiver in Sammy Watkins, their best corner in Darby, one of their best prospects in Ragland, and their biggest defensive lineman in Darius. But you can't send the message to your team that you're not trying to win now. They get off to a fast 5-2 start, so they made the move for Calvin Benjamin, and they continue to win. And all year it's been this balancing act, planning for the future while still trying to win now.
Taylor, pressure right up the middle, flag down, quarterback down as he got the pass away. The hard-charging Charles Harris trying to get to Taylor. That flag thrown well before the throw from Tyrod. And is going to be holding against Buffalo. Jerome Boger, our referee
Holding.
today.
Offense, number 62. That penalty is declined. The result of the play, incomplete pass, 4th down.
That was Vlad Dukas.
Charles Harris getting the opportunity to play a lot more. Andre Branch down, their first-round pick. Couple nice plays already today. They've been happy with him. Not a ton of production, but physically he has all the skills. Matt Burke told us that sometimes he overthinks things. Just go and play. Trust your athleticism, trust your ability.
This is Jarvis Landry now back deep for the Dolphins. Taking a turn at punt returner. A collision with the punter Colton Schmidt, no flag. I believe one of the Dolphins got bumped into him, or it was another
There's
Buffalo
no
Bill
running to the
teammate.
kicker.
Well, here's Colton Schmidt. You can see they're being blocked back, so it's no penalty. It was his own man. Miami.
1:19 to go here in the first quarter. LaShawn McCoy, a 4-yard touchdown run, and the Bills leading the Dolphins 7-3. A 52-yard punt by Colton Schmidt has Miami backed up at its own 6-yard line. Out of his own end zone, and the completion, Cutler across the middle to Devontae Parker, and a first down, gain of 11. Boy, if they can get Devontae Parker going a little bit to join Kenny Stills and Jarvis Landry, another weapon for Jay to work with.
That's the thing with this Miami offense. You wondered all year why they weren't better, because they do have weapons. Landry, Parker, Stills, Julius Thomas at tight end, and Drake at running back now. And look at Jay Cutler. I talked about it earlier. Play action, how much better he is. That's predicated on the ability to run the ball.
Cutler starting out 4 of 6 for 37 yards. And he'll pitch it to Drake. Look at the burst by him across the 30 and taken down at the 36-yard line by Ramon Humber, and that's a run of 19.
What impresses me so much about Drake is his quickness laterally. You can see this ball, shiftiness, move inside, and then the explosion to be able to get up to speed quickly. That's what's so good. He's a big back, 6'1", 211 pounds. He's already got 53 yards in this game, had a 31-yarder on the last drive to get him down, set up that field goal.
Averaging over 10 yards per rush. 7-3 Buffalo, 1 quarter in the books. Well, for Kenyon Drake, there were some questions that Adam Gase and his coaching staff were looking for answers today. How would he handle this first big game as a starter on the road in inclement weather? You got the added pressure now of being in the playoff picture. And so far, Gase has put Kenyon Drake in a position to succeed. A good start for him, and Cutler with time to unleash downfield, and he overthrows Kenny Stills. Tre'Davious White had the coverage there.
Watch Kenny Stills in the double move, little stop and go. Their fastest receiver down the field, unable to complete it, taking a shot, play action, a double move, trying to get behind Tre'Davious White, and he has done such an awesome job as a rookie, understanding what you want to do defensively, being sound, and then not being afraid of the moment.
What can Gase dial up here in the second quarter after so much success and an impressive win Monday night? They do a good job of getting the ball into the hands of Jarvis Landry in a lot of different ways, and he's developed into one of the top playmakers in the AFC.
Adam Gase so creative, trying to utilize weapons. That's what he does so well, Beth. He doesn't have one scheme. He game plans differently for each team. He tries to create matchup advantages through pre-snap motions, flood concepts where he puts receivers, bunch formation, and get the right guy on the right matchup defensively. A very unique approach to offense from Adam Gase.
Got Miami to the playoffs last year with a 10-win season. And trying to fight their way back. You know, they hit that skid in the middle of the year when they lost 5 in a row, but I think really sent a message to the rest of the AFC with that win Monday night over New England.
That opened everybody's eyes. Nobody thought Miami would beat New England, even though they've had success in Miami against the Patriots. but the way they did it, the way they shut down Tom Brady and really made Tom look old. You know, there's only a couple times you've seen Tom Brady look his age. That was one of the games.
On 2nd and 3, the slant incomplete. And the coverage by Micah Hyde, and what a free agent pickup he has been after the last 4 years at Green Bay when he couldn't get into the starting lineup.
Yeah, a lot of frustration for Micah Hyde that he wasn't able to start. Went into free agency, wanted to find a team that he could start on, and he said this defense fits him so well. Leslie Frazier puts him in a position where his eyes can be downfield so he can break on those balls and make plays. Here's those bunch formations you see down at the bottom of the screen.
4-man rush on 3rd and 3. Cutler gonna run for it, and he's got it. Sliding down inside the 40 and a gain of 6.
Excellent job by Jay Cutler. They went with a bunch formation, tried to bring Jarvis Landry back underneath as they cleared everything out. The protection broke down, and Jay Cutler using his legs, something Adam Gase told us that he needs to do more of. It's a different Jay Cutler than he had in Chicago. Not quite as athletic, but Adam Gase wants him to continue to use his legs more.
More and more comfortable with his teammates as the years progress. Oops, a little miscue there, but Drake is still going to make something out of it. Wrapped up by Lorenzo Alexander after a 5-yard run.
All kinds of problems on that run play. Larson was on the ground, Cutler was on the ground, and yet they got 5 yards out of it.
How about the Drake? He's played 85% of the snaps the last 2 games, and as we referenced earlier, no one in the league had more yards from scrimmage than Kenyon did.
It was supposed to be 2 backs, but Damian Williams has been injured, so Drake has had to carry the load.
Williams unavailable again today. We've already seen Devian Smith in the backfield a little bit. And that's Drake for 4 more, and it'll be 3rd down and 1.
Don't be surprised here on 3rd and 1 if Miami takes a shot downfield. They're on the verge of field goal range, but no team in the NFL throws the ball deeper on 3rd and 1 than Miami. They average over 10 yards down the field with the ball on 3rd and 1. That's Adam Gase being aggressive through the air.
Their hybrid Marquise Gray, tight end and fullback, now in the backfield ahead of Drake. And he will get the call. And the push forward for a 1st down for Miami. The 5th-year man out of Minnesota, they've used him in a couple of different ways, and he's a big fella to bring down there on short yardage.
Well, not being aggressive, wanting to get the 1st down and continue this drive, knowing that you're in the cold. It's not really windy down there, but it has an impact on those long field goal attempts.
6'5", 263 pounds, a former quarterback.
That's a big quarterback.
Getting the job done. Drake met in the backfield, corralled, and down he goes. Eddie Yarbrough, who's getting the start for the 2nd week in a row after the injury to Shaq Lawson. Looks like Kyle Williams is the guy that busts it up.
Sean McDermott will be happy there. I talked about losing Contain earlier. Yarbrough stayed home, didn't dip inside, kept Contain, forced Drake back inside. That's sound, disciplined football.
Loss of 3 right there, and this the 12th play of the drive now for Miami. It started back on their own 6-yard line. Cutler airing it out, incomplete. He was looking for Jarvis Landry, and it'll be 3rd and long.
Yeah, Jay Cutler was a little aggressive there. Should have gone underneath to Kenyon Drake. He was open. Watch Drake come out of the backfield here, and he's just going to run a little out route, and he's open, and Cutler doesn't go to him. Could have picked up about half of it, and who knows, when Drake has the ball in his hands, he could make an explosive play.
Cutler setting up the receiver screen for Parker, and he'll get inside the 25, taken down at the 23, and it's 4th down. They get 7 yards back, but Jerry Hughes was there to make a play with White.
When you're running those timing routes, trying to get a receiver underneath with blockers in front, so important to put the ball in the right location. That ball was high by Cutler. Parker had to go up and get it. That disrupts the timing, doesn't allow a big play to happen.
Cody Parkey has already hit from 28 yards. This will be 41. And he splits the uprights on a cold day, but not a very windy day here in Orchard Park. And Parkey is 2 for 2, and it's a 1-point game.
Cody Parkey's used to kicking in the cold. He was up in Cleveland, no problem, delivering for the Dolphins.
A 7-minute scoring drive for the Dolphins to get another field goal up on the board. LeSean McCoy waiting his turn, 20 yards away from hitting that 10,000 mark for his career. Parkey boots that one away and into the end zone. And Cadet will take the knee. Well, coming up next, it's a doozy. Patriots and Steelers, the top seed in the conference, hanging in the balance. At the confluence of the three rivers today, Tom Brady in New England heading to Pittsburgh to meet Big Ben and the Steelers. That's coming up next right here on CBS. If Pittsburgh wins, they clinch home field advantage. With a Jacksonville loss, the Jags are off to a pretty good start already today. And here is McCoy breaking a tackle and out across the 35 for a first down. What did defensive coordinator Matt Burke tell us the other day? He thinks this is the shiftiest running back in the NFL.
And you can see it right there. The combination of quickness and speed, explosiveness, the ability to cut back inside, make the defender miss, and then the acceleration. Yeah, not really good ball security there.
That's serious grip from Shady right there. Either that or the glove technology continues to get better and better.
I look like I can catch the ball well with those gloves.
Almost intercepted. T.J. McDonald had a chance at a pick six and couldn't hang on.
He's been playing really well the last 2 weeks. Both T.J. McDonald and Rashad Jones, the safeties, understanding each other. He should have had that one. An excellent job timing it, recognizing that's where film study comes in. You know exactly what they're doing. He did everything right, but he didn't finish the play and catch the ball.
He might have wanted, he needed McCoy's gloves,
That's
I think,
right.
on that one. Hold on, the fifth-year man out of USC, a free agent pickup. McCoy scrambles, gets away from Harris and runs out of bounds. Let's go to JB and Phil now in New York for an update.
Jets have narrowed the gap.
They sure have. Bilal Powell, 2-yard run, the end of a 12-play, 75-yard drive. New Orleans 10, New York Jets 7. From the warm confines here, let's send it back to Buffalo and Beth Mullins and Jay Feely.
A way to rub it in, huh?
Yeah, I got to do it.
We got hand warmers, we got foot warmers, we got how many pairs of long johns?
Phil's in the
you
studio
got?
now, so he gets to have fun giving everybody a hard time sitting up in the cold booth.
Already gone through a box of tissues today. Travaris Cadet is now in at tailback for Buffalo here on 3rd and 6. And rifling it across the middle to Charles Clay, who breaks a tackle and works his way into Miami territory.
Charles Clay had a big game last time these two teams met, 2 touchdowns. I don't care what anybody tells you. When you play a former team, there is something more on it. They let you go, or they decided not to sign you back. Charles Clay getting this ball, nice catch, and then look at the power and the explosiveness to get through the tackle, pick up extra yards.
How many former teams did you get to
Too many.
play against?
I just wanted one helmet from every team in my office.
That was 21 yards there to Clay. And it's back to McCoy. LeSean McCoy down inside the 25. And there it is for LeSean McCoy, as he goes over 10,000 career yards. And he may have been injured at the tail end of the play. A 14-yard gain to get him 46 on the day, and he becomes the 30th player in NFL history to hit 10K. But right now, the concern over the health of Shady. Back in a moment.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by U.S. Air Force. Experience more at airforce.com. K Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. And by State Farm. Here to help life go right.
You see a smattering of Dolphin fans around New Era Field here, cheering on the Dolphins on the road. Travaris Cadet replacing the injured LeSean McCoy, who's coming right back into the ballgame now for Buffalo.
He just wanted the game to stop when he got 10,000 yards.
Looks like, is this just getting the wind knocked out of him, I think, when Alonso landed on him?
Yeah, we didn't see a lot.
Yeah.
But that interior of that offensive line for Buffalo is doing an excellent job. Vlad Ducasse, another good down block. Eric Woods sealing off, creating the hole over there for McCoy.
That was the carry that got him over 10 grand. On the rollout, Tyrod Taylor incomplete behind Deontay Thompson.
Really missed one there. Thompson was open. Taylor should have completed that pass. You got to throw it outside. Your receivers turn to the sideline. Throws it back inside.
So he's the 30th guy to get to 10,000 rushing yards. But when you throw in these other things, his ability to catch the ball, 4.7 yards per carry, and then the total touchdowns, no one has done that before in NFL history.
4.7 per carry. That's the one that gets a lot of guys. I had to look it up. I wanted to see what Marshall Faulk was, LaDainian Tomlinson. They were all like 4.4, just under.
3 of 5 on third downs today for Buffalo. Taylor looking for McCoy. Touchdown, Bills. A receiving touchdown to add to his rushing touchdown.
Line him up in the slot. Get him lost, a little pick route. Nice ball by Taylor. When the rushing game is working, then this offense is a different offense. I like the creativity by Rick Dennison. Putting LeSean McCoy out in the slot, little rub route and get him open.
Hauschka with the finishing touch, an 8-play drive, 75 yards. McCoy, a record-breaking run, and then a nice catch. Finding the end zone for 6 more, and the Bills boost the lead. 14-6, Buffalo with the lead. A rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown for LeSean McCoy, and he was all hopped up during that last commercial break, working with his teammates, firing up the fans. Both Buffalo and Miami still alive in the playoff picture. The Bills right now hanging on to the 6th and final spot with these 3 games left on the schedule. Jakeem Grant gets the return out close to the 20. Sharice Wright, the first guy there. Well, coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report, join JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cowher for all the latest NFL scores and highlights. That's all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Sean, the moves on the field and on the sideline as well. And his coach coming over for a congratulatory handshake.
Sean McDermott not dancing? Surprising.
That, by the way, was also Tyrod Taylor's 50th career touchdown pass. And now the ball back in Miami's court with just under 6 minutes to go in the half. Kyle Williams meeting Kenyon Drake in the backfield. "12 years in the NFL out of LSU, all of them in Buffalo. 5 times a Pro Bowler, one of the leaders of this team, one of the pillars of this community, a father of 5. And a lot of people in this area hoping this is not his final home game as his contract is coming up.
Well, Sean McDermott said he makes my job easy because he does everything the right way, and he demands that from his teammates, especially on that defense.
Rushing numbers about even so far in the first half. On 2nd and 10 for Cutler. Drake looking for some open air, making guys miss. A lot of work for a few yards.
When Drake was the third stringer before the trade for Jay Ajayi, when they traded under the Eagles, Adam Gase told us it was hard for him to be engaged in meetings. You know, you get stagnant a little bit. Then he became the starter, and now he's been a different player both on the field, off the field, studying.
On 3rd and 8, one-handed grab by Landry, and he'll get out to the 30.
I think there was a timeout call by Buffalo.
Yep.
Sean McDermott recognized.
They got a timeout.
Timeout.
Before the snap.
Buffalo. They're first.
Sean McDermott didn't like what he saw, quickly ran down there and got a timeout.
Well, here's a look at all the traffic that Kenyon Drake has already had to try and run through and navigate over the course of his career at Alabama and
Those are
at
some
Miami.
good backs, Beth.
Lacey Yeldon and Derrick Henry in college. Jay Ajayi before the trade mid-season at Miami. And then behind Damian Williams before Williams got hurt. He didn't even make the trip.
And one of the things with Jay Ajayi is he wanted to be in all the time, so Drake didn't get a lot of playing time. He wasn't in there getting carries and getting a feel and a comfortability with being in the NFL. But he stepped in and he looks the part, and he's played really well for Miami.
Cutler going to change it up on 3rd and 8. Blitz coming. Passes away, and it's caught for the first down. Out close to the 40-yard line to Landry.
It's what Adam Gase loves to do. Motion. They bring Landry in motion, get him into the slot, and then he comes across. And a good job by Jay Cutler on time getting the ball. When Jay Cutler throws the ball in less than 2.5 seconds, his pass rating is 98.7. When he's over 2.5 seconds, 64.7. So it's so critical for him to get rid of the ball, something he's done really well the last 5 weeks.
And a terrific block by Kenyon Drake, something that he's also had to improve upon as the starter. Met in the backfield and swarmed and taken down. Rookie Matt Milano, the first guy there. Played on some terrific defenses under Steve Adazio at Boston College.
Well, they love his mobility, both in coverage as well as getting into the backfield. A nice play. I had to laugh, though. He's an old soul, Beth. He said his favorite vacation spot is Marco Island. My grandma used to live in Marco. I think everybody's grandma used to live there.
Loss of 5. Cutler looking to the left. He's got Landry ducking underneath again and out across the 40. That'll set up a more manageable 3rd down and a gain of 8.
This is how Adam Gase wants to use Jarvis Landry now. Not deep routes at all, but getting him the ball often, finding ways, whether it's putting him in the backfield, put him in motion in the slot, choice routes. Last week, 8 targets, 8 receptions against New England, 2 touchdowns, only 49 yards.
Only Antonio Brown of Pittsburgh has more catches this year than Landry does. He's bunched up to the right here on 3rd and 7. Hyde blitzing from the other side, incomplete, and almost picked off by E.J. Gaines, and it's 4th down.
Miscommunication between Cutler and his wide receiver, Kenny Stills. Thought he was going to continue on this route. It's Parker, and he stops. And almost an interception by Gaines.
Micah Hyde got back there to force Cutler into throwing it. Matt Hawk will punt here to Brandon Tate back at his own 15. Hawk's been terrific in burying the ball inside the 10-yard line this year. He's done it 10 times. And a bounce too far and into the end zone for the Dolphins. 58 yards on the punt, but he couldn't bury it deep. 2:23 now to go for Buffalo to work with, and coming up on the Verizon halftime report, we've got JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, and Coach Cowher, all the latest scores and highlights. That's all coming up on the Verizon halftime report, including a potential win today for the Cleveland Browns, which would be a first.
First for the year. It'd be tough being a Cleveland Browns fan the last couple of years, really since they came back to Cleveland.
Travaris Cadet, sixth-year man out of Appalachian State, was acquired on waivers in November. Taylor lofting it over the top, and it's caught by the tight end Charles Clay out to midfield. Taylor's at better than 65% here in the first half.
You can see him wait. It's a long developing play, but Tyrod Taylor does this as much as anybody in the NFL. 3.13 seconds. Longest time in the NFL to throw the ball, but he finds Clay down the field.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Macy's. And by Domino's. Order online at Domino's.com.
Ice skates or bike skates down at Canal Side here in Buffalo.
Never seen that before.
Never.
I got a house up in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. We go ice skating. I've never seen that.
Look at the first half for Tyrod Taylor, including the touchdown pass to LaShawn McCoy. Now trying to engineer a 2-minute drive to close out the first half. And Ndamukong Suh able to get his arms around Travaris Cadet. Buffalo has a couple of timeouts to work with here.
Yeah, plenty of time. No need to rush right now. You'd like to use up all this time and try and get a score right before half.
Able to drop it off underneath. Cadet breaking a couple of tackles and launching himself down inside the 40. That was Kiko Alonso who had a shot at him. Gain of 14 for the Bills. Taylor, the slant to Kelvin Benjamin. Their big midseason pickup in the trade from Carolina with the catch.
That was a better ball for Tyrod Taylor, throwing on time. That's what Rick Dennison wants to see. As soon as you hit that third step, deliver the ball.
First catch today for Kelvin. Taylor incomplete. Clay slipped on the play.
You're already in field goal range here. Stephen Hauschka has been one of the best kickers in the NFL from long range. Had a streak of 13 straight field goals from 50 plus. This would be a 48-yarder. So you're not worried about getting yardage for the field goal, trying to get the first down and get in the end zone.
Cadet will stay in there at tailback. Final minute of the half. On 3rd and 3. Flushed. Pressured by Jordan Phillips. And a run out of bounds. Very close. Looks like he's a yard shy.
So this would be an interesting decision here. Do you go for it on 4th and 1?
Got a flag down as well in the secondary.
Yeah, they're going to get a first down.
Holding. Defense, number 42. 5-yard penalty after the end of the run. Automatic first down.
That's on the veteran Alteron Werner. LaShawn McCoy is back out there for the Bills now, and they keep the drive alive.
You're going to see this late developing right there. As he comes back across his face, he just grabs him and holds him. Not a smart play at all. You had to stop. It was going to be 4th down. Saying, what did I do? Well, you grabbed him. You held him and you jerked him. They're going to call that every time. There it is.
Got a handful
Put your
of
hands
Zay Jones.
outside.
Good teaching there by the field judge, Eugene Hall. So McCoy is back into the game. Has both touchdowns for Buffalo, one on the ground, one through the air.
So if you're Tyrod Taylor, be smart with the ball here. You don't want to take any chances. You don't want to throw an interception. That's something he's done really well. 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions on the year.
McCoy with the cutback to get by Alonso, and he's inside the 10. Gain of 13.
That's pretty safe there. Give the ball to McCoy. Allow him to make a play.
We'll be back in 30 seconds after this from Lowe's. 40 seconds to go here in the first half. A 14-6 Buffalo lead over Miami, and down inside the 10-yard line here for the Bills. Another drive well engineered by Tyrod Taylor. Trips right, and now Cadet will join them out there. Design quarterback run. Taylor getting the edge, reaching for the pylon, and he's in. Touchdown, Buffalo.
Tyrod Taylor fired up. This crowd is fired up. Excellent play design. Split 4 guys wide to spread out the defense and then use the legs of your quarterback. Reaches the ball out to get it inside the pylon. Did he get it all the way in there? Looks like it. Looked like that right foot was inbounds. What a drive for Buffalo and Tyrod Taylor. They started it with an excellent drive on the first series, capping it here with an excellent drive at the end of the half.
Stephen Hauschka with the extra point. And he's got it. 21-6. Buffalo with the lead over Miami. And we'll be back after this from FedEx. What a first half for Tyrod Taylor. You know, here's a guy who started out the season as the starter, right? Benched middle of the year. They weren't real thrilled with his production. Hurt a couple weeks ago. Now back in the starting lineup. There's been talk about whether or not they're going to be drafting a quarterback or finding a quarterback in free agency. He's been putting on a pretty good show so far today.
He certainly has. He's been effective throwing the ball, 12 for 18, 165 yards, finding LeSean McCoy. And we asked him in the meetings, are you healthy enough to be able to run the ball? He said, absolutely, no limitations. And you saw it right there on the design quarterback draw, and he gets in the end zone. And, you know, my key at the beginning was don't make mistakes. He hasn't made mistakes. He's protected the ball. But these Buffalo Bills fans are fired up for their team.
He's been listening to his feet. Whatever they've been telling him, it's been right on the money so far today.
There.
The kickoff here to Jakeem Grant, and he'll give it a go from inside the 5, and Grant motors out across the 20-yard line. So significant for both these teams in the playoff picture right now. The wild card race includes the Buffalo Bills in that second wild card spot, which would get them into the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. Baltimore right now is up on Cleveland. Of course, the Chargers lost yesterday. Oakland's got some big challenges in the final 3 weeks, including Dallas tonight.
I did the Tennessee game last week, and they are in a spiral downward right now. I wouldn't be surprised if San Francisco was able to pull off the upset.
Bills go 8 plays, 80 yards in under 2 minutes to pad the lead, and Cutler down into the dirt. There was nowhere for Drake to go, even if he caught it.
I'm just trying to do a little screen to the running back, see if Drake can't pop one. Cutler knew that the play had no possibility, so he just throws it away. Smart decision.
does stop the clock, however, with 22 seconds to go. Buffalo just has the one timeout. Miami does have a couple.
So I'd expect them to run the ball here to make sure that Buffalo can't get the ball back.
Yeah. They're going to throw it. And they'll complete it to Landry out to the 30-yard line. He's about a yard short, a gain of 8. Clock's going to run here. And what's Adam Gase going to do?
He's going to go regroup.
Yep.
Get in the locker room, figure out what they need to do better in the second half and try to come out and win a game that's a must-win game for Miami.
Couple of touchdowns for LeSean McCoy as he hits the 10,000-yard career rushing mark. And a 21-6 lead at the end of the half. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station.
Want to stay up to date? Hey Siri, show me football scores.
21-6 at the half. Buffalo with the lead over the Miami Dolphins. Both teams still in the playoff picture. The Bills, of course, hanging on to that 6th and final spot with the 3 games still to go. Beth Mowins and Jay Feely. And the Buffalo Bills scoring touchdowns on 3 of their 5 possessions in that first half. The Dolphins had to settle for a couple of field goals.
Yeah, Miami's got to be more aggressive down the field. Had a couple of shots, weren't able to complete them. Jay Cutler overthrew on a double move, and they have to find ways to move the ball, not just underneath, but taking shots downfield and get back in this game.
Of course, it's already been a big first half for Tyrod Taylor and LeSean McCoy.
You knew McCoy would carry the load. He's done it all year. He certainly did it last week. But Tyrod Taylor, effective, nice pass, good touch on that ball to McCoy. And then capping one off, showing that he's healthy. The quarterback draw and getting into the end zone.
McCoy going over 10,000 career yards rushing in that first half. Had a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. And the statistics through that first half, Buffalo already at 245 yards of total offense. And the 21-6 lead. Adam Gase, you probably saw as we left at the end of that first half, not at all thrilled with the way things had gone on that final possession and perhaps throughout that first half, not able to cash in and get to the end zone.
Well, he calls the play, so he can only be mad at himself, frustrated with his lack of execution on offense.
Dolphins will have it here to open up the third quarter.
Buffalo took their first drive of the game, went down and scored. That's what Miami needs to do to get back in this game. Get a rhythm going, take some shots, connect on them.
The first half possessions, not including that last one, which was only a couple of plays, but even that long drive, they had it over 7 minutes and were able to get the field goal out of it instead of the touchdown. And now Cutler and company back to work. Kenyon Drake at tailback, 54 yards rushing in that first half for Kenyon as he is coming off of back-to-back 100-yard rushing games. And the pass to Anthony Fasano out across the 25 and a 4-yard gain. They look so impressive offensively against New England on Monday night. And Gase hoping they can find that mojo again here in the second half.
That's why I think he was so frustrated. He said in our meetings, it's finally come together. We understand each other. We're dialing up the right plays. Jay Cutler said that too. He knows exactly what I want to do. We're on the exact same page, and yet today, not so much.
Stills and Parker, the wideouts to the left. Cutler out of the gun. Tipped, incomplete. He was looking for Kenny Stills. It's a Dolphin team that Gase told us last night as well. He's been real pleased with how resilient they've been. And you see another look there, the pass breakup by Johnson. They've been through a lot of adversity. They're going to have to go through some more here in the second half to get back in it.
And that's a ball. If Jay Cutler puts it in the right location, leading his receiver, Johnson wouldn't have been able to get there. It would have been a completion, and they would have had the first down.
Micah Hyde coming up to the line. And then they'll drop 3 guys back into coverage. Cutler going deep, picked off. Jordan Poyer playing some center field. And that's the first turnover of the day.
Watch down here at the bottom of your screen. You're going to see contact. Cutler's expecting him. He's getting off, and there's the little bit of contact, a little pull that they didn't call. A ball overthrown by Cutler. And Poyer gets the interception. White got away with a little tug on the receiver. That slowed Stills up. But it was not a good throw, not a good decision by Jay Cutler.
Third interception of the year for Jordan Poyer.
Big A 47.
Buffalo will start out here off the takeaway on their own 42. And working out of the eye, this is LaShawn McCoy. Good push by the front four of the Dolphins. That was Jordan Phillips, third-year man out of Oklahoma.
Phillips consistently doing it day in and day out. He's been a huge part of that D-line.
Here's what the Bills did in that first half. The touchdown, the long scoring drive. In fact, three of them, 81, 75, and 80 yards for touchdowns.
Yeah, that's something they have not done at all this year. Long scoring drives. You noted it. They were 0 for 31 coming into the game, scoring touchdowns starting inside their 20-yard line.
Taylor on the move. And they are going to rule that a catch at the 44-yard line to Charles Clay. They get 5 yards back. It's going to be third down.
Matt Burke told us, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, that we have to keep an eye on Tyrod Taylor everywhere. We have to get up the field to keep him in the pocket. They have not done that today. They allowed him to get outside, make plays with his feet through the air. They lost him on the quarterback draw. He said they'd have a spy on him throughout the game, eyes on Taylor, and that's been a problem for Miami.
Taylor with the blitz coming. Tyrod trying to get away from Ndamukong Suh, and he does, and he's got the first down across midfield and into Miami territory. 17 more on that scoop.
Tyrod Taylor is most dangerous when he drops back. Being able to look downfield, create plays with his feet scrambling. Suh's got to get up the field there and keep him inside with contained so that his help can get home and help him. Has not been able to do that. 33 yards on 4 carries and a touchdown for Tyrod Taylor.
Look at how good he's been on third down. No quarterback, the only one I should say, Cam Newton has run for more in the last 4 years, and trying to hook up with Zay Jones over the top. Xavier Howard had the coverage.
No surprise that Xavier Howard was all over this play. Almost runs into McCoy. Nice little sidestep, keeps his eyes down the field.
That was Charles Harris that got in a hit on Taylor.
That could have been called too.
Rookie out of Missouri getting the start today for the injured Andre Branch. Inactive. McCoy the burst up the middle. Hauled down by Terrence Fede.
He wanted a face mask penalty at the end there.
And it looks like he should have had it. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know how they don't call that one. Missed call there. Not only did you grab on, you held on and you brought him to the ground while holding on to the face mask.
We talked about it at the top of the show, how good the Miami defense had been on third down. New England was 0 for 11 on Monday night, but the Bills 6 for 8 so far. Taylor trying to add another one. Hit as he throws. Incomplete. Wide right of the end zone. Neville Hewitt was bringing the heat on the quarterback, and it's fourth down.
Tyrod Taylor told us, when I scramble, when a play breaks down, I'm going to look for Deontay Thompson. He wanted him to come back to the ball. Thompson continued his route. Ball's at the 36-yard line, so you're looking at a 54-yard field goal.
They got the offense still out there to go for it on 4th and 7.
They may try and draw him off sides. You're in Hauschka's range. He could make this kick even though it's cold. He's had 2 56-yarders this year, 2 55-yarders.
Timeout, Buffalo. their first.
The play clock
This is a
had gotten down
30-second
to
timeout.
3 seconds there, so the Bills call a timeout.
The ball certainly doesn't travel as well in cold weather. You know, anytime you're under 32 degrees, the ball doesn't compress as well, it doesn't travel as well. But I watched Stephen Hauschka in warm-ups, and he went back to 55 yards, was making kicks from there. He's been excellent from long range for this team. One of the big pickups for Buffalo, bringing Hauschka in from Seattle, his ability to connect on long field goals, which when you have a team like this with this offense, ball control, running the ball, having solid specialists that execute is a priority.
Well, let's see, with the way the defense has played thus far, they're going to go for it here from the Miami 36-yard line. They will. Taylor takes the snap. Looking for Clay, incomplete. Kiko Alonso had the coverage, and Miami will take over on downs.
Tyrod Taylor taking a shot downfield, looking for Clay, who's had success. He couldn't find the ball.
We're not sure if this is some sort of defensive dance or just trying to stay warm on a...
He's like me, dancing up here in the booth. I think he dances a little better than I do, though, Beth.
Feels like it's in the mid-teens today in Orchard Park. And after the Bills unable to convert on 4th down, Cutler and company, Jakeem Grant weaving his way out across the 45 for a first down. So let's use a little hindsight here and go back to the McCall by McDermott to go for it instead of attempting the field goal.
Yeah, and I went to punt it there from the 36-yard line. Either kick a long field goal with Hauschka or go for it. But if you're Tyrod Taylor, give you had the matchup you wanted. Clay versus Kiko Alonso, give him an opportunity to go up and make a play on the ball.
He was unable to do that, so Miami holds and now trying to counterpunch. Cutler, the slant. Jarvis Landry with another catch, his 5th of the day. They continue to find ways to get him the ball.
Pretty big cushion for a guy that you know is not going to go deep. That's not how they use Jarvis Landry. You know it's going to be inside slant routes, underneath, finding ways to get him the ball.
QBs are even, 13 for 22 apiece. Some more yardage for Taylor, and he, of course, has a touchdown pass and a touchdown run today. Cutler bobbled it and may have gotten back to the line of scrimmage. Ryan Davis covered him up. Or excuse me, may have gotten the yard anyways there.
Just loses focus and drops the ball. He's able to pick it up and get the first down. Got it.
From the 41 of Buffalo, Fasano, the tight end, offset in the backfield with Drake. I'll flip it out to Kenyon, looking for some blockers, and the Bills did a good job to sniff that one out.
As soon as Fasano's in the backfield, you know they're going to do something there to use him as a blocker. A very good blocking tight end. Unable to seal the corner and get Drake free.
So now Miami looking for potentially a 14-point swing here. You get the stop on 4th down and now trying to cash it in for some points that would give them a big boost midway through this 3rd. On 2nd down, Julius Thomas cut down by E.J. Gaines and a gain of 5. And now the Dolphins need a 3rd down conversion.
You run 2 clear out routes and then bring Julius Thomas on an out route. It's not a guy who, when he has the ball in his hands, is going to make a lot of people miss. Gaines is down on the ground.
E.J. Gaines getting some medical attention. You're watching the NFL on CBS.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Low fares, no hidden fees. That's transparency. AT&T. And by the 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar.
And that is a very lucky young Buffalo Bills fan that received the touchdown ball after Tyrod Taylor's 9-yard touchdown run in the first half. And right now it's Miami looking to keep the drive alive. Cutler with time, incomplete.
Not
Intended for Parker, Jay.
Not the same Jay Cutler, Beth, that you saw last week. Not as sharp, not making the same kind of plays, whether it's play calling or the inability of Jay Cutler to make plays. Pressure there on Jay Cutler. And they're going to go for it on fourth down. There's Landry moving around. They brought him to one side, brought him back to the other. He's the inside guy. And that trip set.
Cutler intercepted at the 23-yard line. Sharice Wright. And he fumbles the football. And then is able to dive back on it. He had just entered the game, replacing the injured E.J. Gaines. And he returns it 54 yards for the Bills.
It's fourth down. You have to make a play if you're Jay Cutler. But confusion from Cutler, throwing into traffic, throwing behind his receiver. He's got a clean pocket. Does not hit his receiver, throws it right to Buffalo.
Second pick of the day, and then Wright almost lost it at the end. I think it was his own guy, Micah Hyde, who may have bumped the ball out inadvertently, and then Sharice was able to jump back on it.
Hey, Mike 47. Hey, double.
McCoy the lone setback from the Miami 23-yard line with Brandon Tate in motion, and Taylor will drop it off to him inside the 10 and knocked out of bounds at the 3-yard line by TJ McDonald. It's first and goal, Buffalo.
The Bills are feeling it, trying to go for the knockout punch. They get the turnover. We saw this play earlier in the first half. Nice little play action, get Taylor out. And then get the ball in space to one of your playmakers.
21 yards to Tate. Gonna spot it here at the 2-yard line.
Hey, Jam.
3 for 3. Red zone touchdowns today for Buffalo. This is McCoy. Denied his third score of the day. That's Ndamukong Suh in the middle.
That defensive line for Miami has to step up right now. Find a way to get a stop and not allow the Bills to get in the end zone. Critical moment in this game.
DeMarco will join McCoy now in the eye. Play action looking for DeMarco, who tripped coming out of the backfield, and it's third down.
DeMarco only had 3 catches coming into the game. He had one in the first half. They tried to hide him, go play action and find him, and he tripped coming out of the backfield.
No, just Carolina. Hey!
You would think, Beth, the size of Kelvin Benjamin, that's why you made the trade. That's why you brought him in here. In the red zone, take advantage of it. He's at the bottom of the screen.
They'll run with McCoy. They'll try it up the middle, and he will be stopped at the 1-yard line, and it's fourth down.
And I'd go for it here. It's 4th and 1. You're up 21-6. Even if you don't get it, even if they stop you, they're going to be at the 1-yard line. Such a minute percentage of teams that score from within the 3-yard line, and that's exactly what Buffalo is going to do.
Trying to cash in on the interception. 6 offensive linemen here as they bring on Ryan Groy. 4th and goal.
Run this ball to the left.
Whistle before the snap and a flag, and it appears to be a false start on Buffalo.
We got a fight now out there. He was about to, and there's a penalty thrown. This ball's going to be backed up on the false start, 5 yards to the 6-yard line. It could be added on, depending on who this penalty's against.
There are 2 fouls on the play, both against the offense. Before the snap, false start, offense, number 72. After the play was over, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense, number 79. 15-yard penalty, still 4th down.
So the false start was on Ryan Groy, who was the 6th offensive lineman they brought in for the short yardage play. And then the big one, 15 yards, Jordan Mills. So that's going to bring out Stephen Hauschka now.
Right there, you're going to look and you're going to see the false start. Well, that's who they called. He certainly didn't move.
One.
And here's the pushing and shoving afterwards.
Stephen Hauschka, 34-yard attempt, his first kick of the day. And he's got it, so off of the interception, the Bills put 3 more on the board. 4-6, Buffalo with the lead over Miami. The Bills getting points after the interception of Jay Cutler on a 4th down pass. And the kickoff headed to Sonoris Perry, who will take a knee. Well, this past Tuesday, the Bills Rookie Club held their annual holiday party at the Hamburg Fairground Festival of Lights for 100 of their young fans. Each child left with a gift bag donated by the team and got to pair up with players for all sorts of holiday-themed activities throughout the night in Buffalo. One of those promising rookies, Tre'Davious White, and we talked about all the moves, all the trades that were made early in the season by Buffalo. And the one thing that has allowed them to do, amongst others, is see what they got out of this last draft class, and it certainly looks, Jay, to be a promising group. Yeah, they've all been able to contribute.
They have played really well.
And this is one of the interceptions. That's the first one to Jordan Poyer. And there's the second one to Sharice Wright.
Just 2 plays that for Jay Cutler he can't make, and you saw him play so well last week against New England, and then he comes out and he plays like this. This is always the frustration with Jay Cutler, because you never know which Jay Cutler you're going to get.
So good with the 3 touchdowns on Monday night against New England. You asked him if that was one of the best games of his career. He said, yeah, it probably was. And they were hoping that it would carry over into this week.
There was a lot of confidence from Jay as well as Adam Gase that they had turned the corner, that they figured it out. Ironically, they said in the Atlanta game when they got shut out that Adam Gase said, I was really comfortable knowing that we were going to be okay. Well, they haven't been okay today.
And after a hot start from Kenyon Drake, they have not been able to get the run game going to help out. Third and long, Cutler, one-handed grab, a good one by Landry, but that'll be well short as Leonard Johnson was right there to make the play.
And another play that I don't like. It's 3rd and long. You're down 24-6. You have to throw that ball past the sticks. It does no good to throw this ball underneath for a 5-yard gain. The defender is right there to make the play, and Buffalo forces another punt, but you have to press it here. You don't have the luxury of throwing underneath and hoping that he can break a tackle and make the play. Go downfield and try to get a first down.
Bills defense has been stingy, under 200 total yards so far for Miami. And Tate thought about taking a run up on it. And it will bounce and be touched around the 32-yard line. Just a 39-yard punt. And the Bills with the lead and the football.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Pitch Perfect 3. The farewell tour begins in theaters this Pitchmas. And by Garmin. Get a Garmin smartwatch and beat yesterday.
Oh, it's a big opening weekend for the seasonal toboggan rides over at Chestnut Ridge Park, Jay.
That looks fun. I'd take my kids to go do that.
Good time. Longest active playoff droughts around the league.
They're going to get in. They're going to get in. Jacksonville's winning big right now. Buffalo trying to do their part.
Yep. McCoy with a short gain. Minnesota has also got a big lead right now over Cincinnati. They can clinch the North over in the NFC with a win today. Of course, the big one coming up next, Pittsburgh and New England for the top spot in the AFC.
As bad as New England looked against Miami last week, there's no team in the NFL that you have more confidence to be able to put that behind you, move on to the next game and rebound and have a good outing. And
boy, did Ndamukong Suh get in the backfield in a hurry. There's a flag down.
yeah, too fast.
They've gotten a head start.
Defense, number 93. 5-yard penalty, still second down.
You're going to see right here, getting in early, trying to time it.
He had a hit on the helmet of Taylor too with the arm swing there.
I thought they were going to blow that dead. Anytime you're unabated coming into the backfield, they blow it dead.
59.
Surprised they didn't.
Hey, 59. I got him.
2nd and 6 for Buffalo, approaching the 3-minute mark here in the third. McCoy, good patience, and then the burst. Looks like he's going to be just a bit shy. Watch the right arm of Suh.
Oh,
whoa.
That was a right punch to the jaw. I don't think it was intentional. Giving him the benefit of the doubt, Beth.
Which
I know a lot of people wouldn't
with
with
Suh's
Suh.
history,
Yes.
that's a very small window. Travaris Cadet in the backfield with DeMarco on 3rd and 1. This has got to be one of the significant stories of the game today for Buffalo after the Dolphin defense held their last two opponents to just 1 for 24 on 3rd down. The Bills have been able to carve them up today.
And credit this offensive line. They've done an excellent job of creating running lanes for both McCoy and Taylor and now Cadet.
That's Dion Dawkins, Richie Incognito, Eric Wood, Vlad Dukas, Jordan Mills. Already more yardage for the Bills, and Xavier Howard gets the sack of Tyrod Taylor. 2nd of the day for Miami.
Continuing to play well. He's had an unbelievable last 2 weeks. 4 interceptions in his last 2 games. Just dominated New England and Denver. Nice job getting around the corner. Poor job by Dawkins. That's a cornerback. Get out there and seal the edge for your quarterback. Don't allow a cornerback on a cornerback blitz to come in untouched and get a sack.
Mike 47, good.
They think that Xavier Howard has a huge upside. And the tools to be elite is what Adam Gase told us. The catch by Kelvin Benjamin out close to midfield. At a gain of 13.
Had a nice game last week before he was injured late in that game. Only his 8th reception while he's been here. Not exactly what they thought they would get when they made the trade and brought Kelvin Benjamin. They thought they were bringing in a number 1 receiver. Yep. Sean McDermott told us we have to have a number 1 receiver. Zay Jones has really been their go-to guy. And he's a rookie.
On 3rd and 8, just a 3-man pressure. Zay Jones had it and couldn't hold it. Broken up by Werner, and it's 4th down.
Zay Jones, an explosive rookie, but this has been his issues this year. The inability to go up and make plays. That ball is perfectly thrown by Taylor. You have to bring that in. coming into the game, he had 60 targets, only 25 receptions. That's 16.7% drop rate. One of the worst in the NFL for anybody targeted over 50 times.
That was right in the mittens. And fourth down, the punting unit comes on. Landry with a fair catch, and it'll bounce over his head. The Bills will down it inside the 5. Lafayette Pitts kept it out of the end zone, and a 51-yard punt from Colton Schmidt.
Colton Schmidt doing his job. He did it last week in the snow, and an excellent job going down the field. You have to have your feet outside the end zone, knows he's going to go into the end zone, throws it back, and a good job covering that ball up. Perfectly executed punt, downing him at the 1-yard line. And Colton Schmidt, go ahead, be fired up. He told me when he was punting out of the end zone last week that the snow was up almost to his knees. And yet he did a good job executing last week, and certainly did right there.
Can Drake get it rolling? Negative 1 yards rushing here in the second half. And they'll run it up the gut with Gray out across the 5. They did manage a field goal on a first half drive that started down inside their own 10-yard line. Still seeking that first touchdown of the day. And time's running short as we are headed to the fourth quarter in Orchard Park. 24-6 Buffalo. You're watching the NFL on CBS. Buffalo to squish the fish. 3 games remaining. These two teams seeing each other today. They'll also meet up in South Florida in the season finale. Cutler to Landry. Miami will head to Kansas City next week in between, while Buffalo will head to New England.
Yeah, that'll be a tough game. They have the Dolphins here, then New England, and the Dolphins in Miami. Have to win both games against Miami to get in. This is how they've decided to use Landry now. The most screens in the NFL.
7 catches today, 62 yards. Cutler looking deep for Parker. Up to get it in traffic, and he holds it down.
That was a beautiful throw by Jay Cutler. Perfectly thrown ball. And Parker does an excellent job elevating, high-pointing the ball and bringing it in, securing the catch.
That was on the rookie Tre'Davious White. And for Devontae Parker, his 4th catch for 58 yards. That one was good for 36. Across the middle, Parker again. And a flag down as Parker is taken down at the Buffalo 41. Gained 11 more yards.
Pass interference. Offense. Number 14, blocking downfield. 10-yard penalty.
Well, it was a penalty against Landry, but now the officials are huddling up again.
So watch Jarvis Landry in the middle of the screen just
At
running
the
that
conclusion of
defender.
the play, unsportsmanlike conduct. Offense, number 14. 15-yard penalty added to the end of the play. Still first down.
This Miami team just unraveling before our eyes. Not playing well, turning the ball over, undisciplined play, getting penalties. I don't know what Landry was so upset about. He ran down the field, over 5 yards down the field, continuing to block as the ball was passed and caught. That's an absolute penalty. And then he gets the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on top of it.
25 yards in the wrong direction. Both penalties against Jarvis. And it's 1st and 35 for Miami, all the way back at their own 23.
It's your 4th year. You just can't have it. Those are plays. Maybe if you're a rookie, you do that. But in this situation where you have to win the game, you're down 24-6. It's a must-win game for you to have an opportunity. You can't afford that.
Back to the ground game, and Drake breaking a couple of tackles. He fights his way out to the 34 and a gain of 12 for Kenyon. Landry did bounce back on that play to make a nice block for Kenyon.
First time Drake has gotten loose since the first half.
Still a long way to go. 2nd and 23. Trips to the right. Cutler looking that way. And he's got the completion. Parker out across midfield and a gain of 18. Preston Brown with the tackle, but it's going to be 3rd down and short.
Remember what I said earlier, nobody goes deeper on 3rd and short than the Dolphins. The average depth of target on 3rd and short, 13 yards downfield. NFL average 6.6.
Kenyon Drake lining up as the wideout to the left. Empty set for Cutler. Lost the football. And down he goes back inside the 45. Looked like he just lost the handle on it. And it's 4th down.
Just disaster for Miami. If you don't get it and it's incomplete, it's 4th and 5. You can go for it on 4th down. Because of the fumble, you land on it, and now you have to punt. 2 big mistakes. The big penalty on Landry, the fumble by Cutler. The hand warmer might have had an impact there. Sure.
Hawk on to punt to Brandon Tate back at the 10. End over end. Tate will stay away from it, and it will bounce down inside the 10-yard line. Some costly penalties on that drive. Ended up killing it for Miami. 49 yards on the punt for Hawk and a 24-6 Bills lead. Fortunately for Buffalo, Tyrod Taylor's made better decisions than these 4 have today.
Fortunately for you, I didn't do that up here in the booth.
America's not ready for that. 24-6 Buffalo. With 11:37 to go, the Bills hanging on to that 6th and final playoff spot at the start of the day. And one of the reasons they've got the lead right now has been the day that Tyrod Taylor's had.
Just done a really good job. Throwing the ball well, nice touch on the ball, avoided any mistakes. That's what Jake Cutler hasn't done with the 2 interceptions. Delivered the ball when he had an opportunity and then taken off, using his legs, getting in the end zone. And he's really used his legs well throughout the game, both on that touchdown and also getting outside, keeping his eyes downfield and making plays.
That was a 9-yard touchdown run, and that TD pass, a 16-yarder to LaShawn McCoy. 2 tight end set here on 2nd and 9. McCoy wrapped up and thrown down by rookie Cameron Malveaux. They really like some of the youngsters backing up the front line, and a loss of 2. As Tyrod Taylor has come back this week after the injury.
He's had 40 starts for the Bills. They've never committed to him, though, as the quarterback. And when they benched him in the middle of the year, it was a tough decision for Sean McDermott. You know that they were looking forward to next year. One of the things, and I said it earlier, he has to know who they are going into the offseason. That's what that move is all about.
Clay bottled up, and they'll have to punt, possibly out of the end zone here. That will certainly be one of the things moving forward. They've got a couple of first-round picks. They've got a couple of second-round picks in the fall, in the spring.
Yeah, they have draft capital. So do we move up to draft one of the quarterbacks? You have Josh Allen, Rosen, maybe Darnold, all these guys that are probably going to go before you're going to pick. And so that was the big thing. Do we need to go move up and get a quarterback? Who is our quarterback? Is it Nathan Peterman? And he threw 5 interceptions in that first game. He played well, better last week before he got injured.
Jakeem Grant going to set up the Dolphins here with a good return inside the 30-yard line, and a short field for Cutler now to work with.
Jakeem Grant has had a couple of really good weeks. They've been waiting for him to explode. The most dynamic playmaker on that team. Last week he went up in the air, elevated, and made the beautiful touchdown catch. 25-yard return for Grant. So explosive when he gets the ball in his hands.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, horse collar tackle, defense. Half the distance to the goal, automatic, first down.
Well, the field just got a whole lot shorter for Miami.
You see that first little jab step. When you're a punt returner, that's how you set up. You're running down the field in the coverage team so fast, and you can see right there grabbing a hold of the jersey on the back. Lacey, that was a rule change. It doesn't have to be inside. If you grab even the nameplate and pull down because of the risk of injury, that's going to be a penalty. But Grant did such a good job. Just a one jab step, that gets everybody leaning, and then quick get outside. Good blocking up front, and that's exactly what Miami needed. They got to score quick, get the ball back, and do it again.
1st and 10 from the 14-yard line after the return and the penalty. This is Kenyon Drake inside the 5 and lunging for the 3. Tre'Davious White saving the touchdown.
We got a fight over there on the sideline. Blocking late and went out. No flags thrown yet, but there was certainly a lot of extracurriculars after the play.
Leonard Johnson, and again it's Jarvis Landry in the middle of it.
Landry continued to block him all the way through the play into the sticks. Well behind the ball.
Gain of 11 on that last play, so now it's 1st and goal. Empty set here for Cutler. Landry is wide left. Drake will motion, returning to the backfield. Low snap, ball down on the ground. Cutler to the end zone, incomplete. Busted up by White, intended for Parker. And Trey almost had their 3rd pick of the day.
I asked Jay Cutler if there's anything you do different in the cold weather, ball security-wise. You know, do you hold it, grip it lighter? He has a lot of experience playing in Chicago, Denver. He said, no, you don't do anything differently.
2nd and goal. Drake down close to the goal line, stopped at the 1.
Miami has 27 touchdowns this year, only 2 rushing touchdowns. That's worst in the NFL. Next lowest is 4 rushing touchdowns. Surprising with the running backs. Jay Ajayi, Drake, the success they've had.
They were lucky they didn't flag that. He moved early in the backfield. No call.
He brought his hands up.
3rd and goal.
Definitely 4-down territory here for Miami.
Out of the power I. They'll give it to Drake off the right side. Good push by Buffalo. 2nd effort for Kenyon, and he's bounced out of bounds. 4th down. And more pushing and shoving at the end of the play. And there's a penalty flag.
Either way, that's going to be costly. If it's against Buffalo, it's a 1st down. If it's against Miami, it's going to back you all the way up to the 16.
After the play is over, out of bounds, unsportsmanlike conduct, defense, number 92. Half the distance to the goal, automatic, 1st down.
Adolphus Washington.
He was way late getting in there as well. Drake is stuffed initially, keeps his feet moving, bounces outside. Here's the tackle, And Adolphus Washington, he's not even in the picture yet. He's going to come in way late. There's Washington right in the middle, watching him, and he slaps the ball out of the hand. No reason for that, just stupid. I mean, there's no reason. You have the lead. You just stopped him. It's 4th down.
And now a fresh set of downs for the Dolphins. Looks like Miami's going to go with 6 offensive linemen here. Zach Stirrup joins the other 5. And they'll go with Marquise Gray and Julius Thomas. Gray lining up as the fullback. And Fasano is the motion man. Cutler to throw. Dropped. Julius Thomas, the intended receiver.
You make a trade and you bring Julius Thomas in, trade with the Jaguars. I mean, that's just an easy play. Perfect throw, good route. Got to come up with it. This Miami team has not been sharp today. Mistakes, poor throws, poor defense, drop balls.
180! 180!
Back to the power game. Drake muscles his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Miami. One-yard touchdown plunge for Kenyon Drake. Dolphins are back in business.
Down 12, so you kick the extra point, so you're down a field goal and a touchdown and a 2-point conversion.
6 plays, 13 yards in a minute and a half, and a crucial unsportsmanlike penalty against Buffalo that kept the drive alive. Parkey with the extra. 24-13, 7:57 to go.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Kay Jewelers. Every kiss begins with K. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. And by FedEx. Sign up for FedEx Delivery Manager.
Yesterday in Buffalo, the future USS Little Rock commissioned alongside the original USS Little Rock, the first time in the Navy's history that a ship was commissioned alongside its namesake. After the Miami touchdown, a 24-13 Buffalo lead. And can they recharge the offense as Brandon Tate slides down, and we've got a penalty flag.
That's going to be a late hit. You're going to add 15 yards on here for Buffalo. They went with the pooch kick. Buffalo content to not risk it. Tate took a knee.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, kicking team, number 45 for hit on the player who is already on the ground. 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That's on Mike Hull. Well, coming up next, most of you will see. There's, wow, that wasn't much to that.
Certainly wasn't, but it was late enough that the contact there, I think he tripped and kind of fell into him. He wasn't trying to dive on him. He even put his hand on the ground to try and stop himself.
Tyrod Taylor off the play action to Deontay Thompson. First down, Buffalo. 16 yards on that hookup. 21 points in the first half for Buffalo, just a 3-spot so far here in the second.
Miami hadn't done anything until that last drive. They were content to just kind of be careful with the ball, not making a mistake, allowing Miami to get back in it. The big mistake was Adolphus Washington in that penalty, which would have brought up 4th down. Gave Miami life and a first down, and they scored a touchdown on it.
59, L59. 180. What's up?
McCoy out of the eye. Good pursuit that time by Miami, led by Jordan Phillips. We've got an update from the studio in New York.
New England at Pittsburgh.
Oh, I know you guys can't wait when your game is over to watch the game of the year. Tom Brady, one of the all-time greats, 5 Super Bowls he's won against Ben Roethlisberger, maybe the hottest throwing quarterback in the NFL right now.
That's coming up next here on CBS. Beth and Jay.
That shaping up to be the game of the year so far in the NFL.
No love lost between those two teams. T.J. McDonald injured there, getting up, but New England has had so much success in Pittsburgh, and that's been Pittsburgh's nemesis. They just can't find a way to beat New England.
Pittsburgh in the driver's seat right now, a game up on New England.
If New England goes in and wins that game, then they have the head-to-head, so they flip it, and they are in the driver's seat.
New England has Buffalo and the Jets left on the schedule. Pittsburgh has Houston and Cleveland after today.
I got him. 180. What's that?
Jacksonville in good shape to clinch a playoff spot with a win today. And the pass incomplete, intended for Charles Clay.
You can't get too content here if you're Buffalo. You haven't really done anything in the second half. 6:46 left. That play stops the clock. A little screen you're trying to set up. It had potential. Right now, Miami, if they can get the ball back, quickly move downfield and get a score, then it's a one-score game.
Mike 47.
Just 70 yards of total offense in this second half for Buffalo. Looking at a 3rd and 13. Taylor. Flag is down. Tyrod to the 44-yard line. That's going to be short. Stephon Anthony with the tackle. See what the flag's about.
Illegal use of hands to the face. Defense on 25. 5-yard penalty as it in their play. Automatic first down.
And that's going to be on Xavier Howard. And a first down for Buffalo.
It's a brutal penalty. You would have had a stop. You're going to get the ball back. And it's just in the middle. He tries to go up and jam the receiver, and his hand gets pushed up. You see up at the top here, right there, just coming up, jamming the receiver, and the hand just slides up. A lot of ticky-tacky calls here in the fourth quarter.
7 penalties now for 60 yards against the Dolphins. McCoy done a decent job of bottling him up for the most part after he hit that 10,000-yard mark in his career. Been the top runner in the NFL since he joined the league 9 years ago. Said how much he's appreciated over the years watching the likes of Barry Sanders and LaDainian Tomlinson. Went old school on us with a little Gale Sayers. Said he's watching a little video.
Arian Foster, guy who's running this same zone scheme.
180. What is that?
And he also had a shout out to his old buddy from Harrisburg and Bishop McDivitt High School, Ricky Running Waters. Another mentor of his.
So make sure to say Ricky Running Waters or he'll get mad at me.
You know, when he mentioned Gale Sayers, we said, you got to check out Brian's song, the movie. He hadn't seen it before, so that's on his off-season to-do list. Looking at a 3rd and 2 right here.
Hey, get up on the ball. Get up on the ball.
5 minutes to go in this one.
I'm running behind Pro Bowl guard Richie Incognito, the left guard. McCoy much better to the left than to his right.
Whistle dead.
Timeout, Buffalo. This is a 30-second timeout.
Buffalo calls the 32nd timeout. They will have 1 left. Miami still has 3.
Ball's on the 31-yard line. This would be a 49-yard field goal from here. That's a long kick in this weather. Stephen Hauschka certainly has the leg Such an interesting story to me. Went to Middlebury, didn't start kicking until he was 19 years old. He was a soccer player. Now today you start kicking. My son started kicking when he was 6 years old. I mean, they have camps. You're doing everything. It was different than when I came out. You didn't have any like camps developing guys, but he started late.
What is he, fourth most accurate of all time, right?
Fourth all time by Tucker, Bailey, and Goskowski.
McCoy met in the backfield and tossed for a loss. Xavier Howard got there, and it's 4th down.
And made up for that penalty. May have knocked him out of field goal range with that tackle for a loss. Excellent job shooting into the backfield. They get pressure up front, makes McCoy bounce it, and Howard comes up with a nice tackle.
This is Miami taking a timeout, and McCoy limping a bit after that play.
This would be a 53, 54-yard field goal. It's a long kick when it's 25 degrees out. They passed up one and went for it on 4th down earlier. I think they're going to punt here.
McCoy, by the way, did ask to be taken out right there, even though it is 4th down coming up. We'll keep an eye on his injury. But they are going to punt it with Schmidt.
Yeah, that's a smart decision now. If it was a 49-yard field goal, I think you would have kicked it or possibly gone for it on 4th and 1. But because of Howard's play, knocking him back, forcing the punt. They're bringing pressure.
Schmidt able to get it away, pops it up. And that will drift out of bounds. See where the official on the move. Going to be at the 14-yard line for the Dolphins. Well, coming up next, most of you will see a huge AFC battle with big-time playoff implications for the top seeds. It's the return of Rob Gronkowski, Tom Brady, and the Patriots headed to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And with 4.5 minutes to go here in Buffalo, time is short for Miami in a 2-possession game with a couple of timeouts as well as the 2-minute warning.
Got to be in a hurry here. Continue to get downfield. You need a touchdown. You need a 2-point conversion. You need a field goal. I'd take a shot here to Kenny Stills. Doesn't have a catch. They try to double move to him, and Cutler overthrew him.
Kenyon Drake incomplete out of the backfield. 2nd down. ...184 yards through the air. Today, Cutler is 20 of 35 on the afternoon.
He knows how to engineer these drives. 23 fourth-quarter comebacks in his career, 2 this year.
Catch is made by Stills. He'll get out to the 35-yard line, and clock continues to roll under 4 minutes.
Buffalo, Leslie Frazier, D coordinator, that defense content to allow them to catch the ball underneath inbounds. That's totally fine. You got to hustle if you're Miami. Get the ball down the field. Taking a lot of time here.
Lost about 30 seconds there between plays. Cutler down the middle, and it's caught out to the 48-yard line for a 1st down to Jarvis Landry.
Nice play by Landry, going up, making this play. Solid coverage there. Landry too strong, going up, making that play.
1st and 10 for Cutler. Looking to go deep, up for grabs, incomplete out of bounds. Kenny Stills, the intended receiver.
That was the shot to Stills. It wasn't a double move, it was double coverage. Stills stopped on the route. He kind of did that when they did the double move earlier in the first half. You got to trust your quarterback, continue to run through the route, and just know it's going to come to me. Watch Stills here as he comes out. This is where he kind of pulls up and stops and doesn't keep running. It was out of bounds anyways, but still, you have to continue to finish your routes.
2:57 to go. Cutler, ball knocked loose. Cutler trying to get on it and finally does. Going to be a big loss for Miami.
It's an epidemic today for Jay Cutler. Has not been able to hold on to the ball. It's the fourth time. Cappy, the Haitian native, making the play. Loss of 16 for Jay Cutler and the Dolphins.
It's going to put them all the way back at their own 33-yard line. Clock rolling down to 2:15 now.
Got to be in a hurry. You got to try and get this off if you can before the 2-minute warning.
Going short to Kenyon Drake. And that will take us up to the 2-minute warning. 24-13, Buffalo with the lead over Miami. Cutler trying to engineer the comeback.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Bud Light, brewed to be enjoyed responsibly. And by Subway, so much sandwich.
Back here in Orchard Park, Buffalo leading Miami 24-13. The Dolphins have a 4th and 14 to try and stay alive.
Got to go beyond the sticks here.
Cutler fires down the middle and it's caught for a first down inside the 40-yard line to Jarvis Landry. Still 2 timeouts for Miami.
Excellent job by Jarvis Landry, sitting down right in between, and watch Jay Cutler rip this ball in there. That's what he can do.
Hard hit on Cutler by Lorenzo Alexander after the throw, and Jay quick to get up.
They were quick to call a timeout and stop the clock. 1:52 now at the first down. And now you got to make the decision here if you're Adam Gase. Run a couple more plays. If you don't get it and you're backed up, you can kick a field goal. You're outside of field goal range right now. You like to get at least another first down, but everything's got to be in a hurry. You're down 11, 1:52, only 1 timeout.
Couple of fourth quarter comebacks already this year for Cutler and the Dolphins, as they try and stay in the playoff picture. Drake with the catch to the 30-yard line. Tripped up by Leonard Johnson. That's a 9-yard gain. Clock running, 1:35 to go.
Gotta get lined up, snap this ball.
Drake again out of the backfield, first down.
Timeout Miami. Quickly, Adam Gase ran down there.
1:23 to go. And that's the final timeout for the Dolphins. Ball is just outside the 25-yard line. Both teams started out the day in the playoff race. In fact, Buffalo sitting in that final spot in 6th place. Baltimore is beating Cleveland today. Jacksonville with a big lead over Houston. Of course, the Chargers lost last night to Kansas City.
With 1:23 left, Beth, you can't afford to continue to throw these underneath passes. You're down 11, you need 2 scores, you need a 2-point conversion. You have to quickly push the ball downfield.
Trips right for Cutler. Dropped. Again, they tried to go to Drake underneath.
I think they were better off with the drop there. Best case scenario, you catch it and you get 9 yards, but the clock continues to run. You're going to be snapping it under a minute. It's not time. You've thrown 2 interceptions, but now it's time to rip it. Jay Cutler, just reach back, let it go, trust your arm, make a play. One of his receivers got to come up. Jarvis Landry, Devontae Parker, the two guys that have been big today.
Cutler looking for the end zone, and it is incomplete. Tre'Davious White almost had the pick. It's third down, intended for Devontae Parker.
Kind of tripped as he was running this route. Right here, he trips, and then White should have had the interception. He's got 3 on the year. He wishes he had 4. That would have sealed the game for Buffalo. All these fans wish they had it as well, but it gives Miami another chance. You're in field goal range, so if you don't get it, you want to quickly bring the field goal team out.
Cutler dumps it off for Drake, trying to get to that first down marker, and he's got it. Out of bounds with 1:05 to go.
And that was the key, getting out of bounds there, stopping the clock. Now with the ball at the 14-yard line, you got to look to the end zone. You can't continue to throw these balls underneath. You have no timeouts. You can't afford to utilize and use up that clock.
Leg it turn.
Parker and Drake come to the left side.
Move out of it. There was no safety help. Now they got 2 safeties back.
The catch is made by Landry, cut down at the 8-yard line, under a minute to go.
That's going to use up too much time. That's the play that I don't think you can do. Not
going to spike it. They're going to throw for the end zone, incomplete. 47 seconds to go, third down.
2 plays here. Got to look to the end zone on both plays. Can't afford a sack. Can't throw the ball short and complete it in bounds and get tackled and use clock, because you still need to get a 2-point conversion and the onside kick and then get into field goal range.
Cutler broken up at the goal line. Jordan Poyer, and it's fourth down.
Jordan Poyer's had an excellent game, had the interception. Watch him break on this ball. I thought it was so interesting what Micah Hyde said, that this defense allows the defenders, in particular the backs, to get forward and make the play. Miami on fourth down has to kick the field goal here. It's the right call, 4th and 4. Get the points, cut it to 8 points, and try to get the onside kick.
Chip shot for Cody Parker, who's 2 for 2. This one will be from 26 yards. And he's got it. 24-16. Miami needs an onside kick, a touchdown, and a 2-point conversion
In 39 seconds.
to tie it.
Miami now, when they do the onside kick, they bring both the kicker and the punter onto the field. So it doesn't allow the hands team for Buffalo to know which way they're going with the ball. Most of the time, you can tell, though, which way they're going by the way they line the ball up. So you got Parkey on the left. You got Hawk on the right. Most of the time, Parkey is the one who kicks the ball. Miami's got 5 guys up high to the right. That's the way Parkey would kick it. 4 down to the left. This ball's angled a little bit to the right, so expect Hawk to fake it and Parkey to kick it to the right.
It is Parkey. He'll kick it to the left. Tossed by Buffalo, and Miami recovers.
Matt Hawk recovers it, the punter who faked it.
Preston Brown had a shot at it for the Bills, and it ricochets to Miami.
It was not a good kick by Parkey. I don't even know if this ball was going to go 10 yards. It probably would have. He tries to come up and be aggressive on that ball. Most of the time you're taught to stay back, to not go forward through the 10 yards. That's a tough play for a linebacker to make, and Miami has life. after all the mistakes, all the things they've done wrong, they got 37 seconds, no timeouts, to try and go score a touchdown and get the two-point conversion.
No timeouts for Miami. 37 seconds. And they need a touchdown and a two-point conversion. Cutler intercepted. And Buffalo gets it right back. Tre'Davious White. They pick off Cutler for the third time, and that should seal it for the Bills.
I don't know what Jay Cutler's doing here. Just throws this ball up. Late pressure. It was a clean pocket if he got rid of the ball early. Does not get rid of this ball. Throws it into double coverage. Overthrows his receiver. And after getting the onside kick, they have an opportunity, and Jay Cutler throws it away.
"17 years of postseason frustrations for Buffalo, and they will stay alive in the playoff race with a 24-16 win over Miami to improve to 8-6. The Dolphins fall to 6-8, and they will meet again in a couple of weeks down in Miami.
It'll be a little warmer down in South Beach. It's feeling good here for these fans. They're warm right now. The Bills are warm right now. They're hot and rolling.
The playoff dream in Western New York lives for another week. The Buffalo Bills, a couple of scores today for LeSean McCoy and 3 interceptions for the Bills defense, and they win it 24-16 in their final home game. For Jay Feely, this is Beth Mowins. Thanks for being with us here in Buffalo. We now send you back to James Brown in our New York studio for the NFL Today update.